I'm still confused. I still am confused. My mind is like one of those balloons is popped because I don't quite understand how these people could not match with the people that I was expecting. I expected Caitlyn to walk off with someone. I expected Quincy to walk off with someone. So for the two of them not to find their person, is heartbreaking for me. And then Will, I loved seeing Will. I remember him from the mall, so I'm happy that he's still out there. Netflix is going to use you again if you behave yourself on the first show. But if you don't, then they're not going to consider you again. So I love this for him. Anyway, I'm happy that there are two couples. I really am. And I can see that there's likely to be a spark with them. So I love that for them. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Pop the Balloon Season 1, Episode 3. I'm so sorry about the late upload. Two things happened. One was I completely forgot Pop the Balloon was on Friday, and also I was very busy on Friday, and I think that's why I forgot. But anyway, here we are. So it's a new week. We have a new bachelor this week. It's a guy. So we have Ty. He's from Cali. He's 31. He's an AI consultant, and he wants a selfless woman who presents themselves well. That's amazing. I love that for him. And who loves life. His deal breakers, he says, are mean girls because he values respect and kindness. None of the girls pop their balloon. He is good looking. He looks amazing. I love the fact that Yvonne sort of teased him about his haircut because it looked like he had just stepped out of the barber's chair. And he was trying to sort of advertise for his barber. He was going to give him a shout out, but he was told, no, you need to wait. So he waited. Anyway, there are 8 girls on the stage, and so he gets to ask all of them a question. They've brought back one of the girls from last week, Angela, the dental student. I think somebody must have really liked her, so they decided to bring her back. Most of the girls, well, some are in red, some are okay looking, but I think on first glance, I really loved Quincy and I loved Caitlyn. I thought Caitlyn was stunning, and I also liked who else? I think those are 2 of my favorites at the moment. Anyway, so they go around to ask all the girls a question. First question to the girls is, are you a mean girl, and what are your deal breakers? I don't think are you a mean girl is a right question. I think he should have said, what is the most negative thing you've ever done that people sort of looked at you sideways, or people might have considered you to be a mean girl? And then he would have used that as judgment, unless he was given a question to ask. But I think that would have made sense, because depending on the most negative thing that they say out, then you'd be able to tell that, oh, this is a mean girl dressed as a good girl. But it is what it is. Anyway, they start off with Quincy. Quincy's 28. She's a freelance model. She also works as a bartender, a delivery driver. And she says whatever is paying is what she's up to. So it seems she's doing whatever mini jobs or short-term jobs just so she can sort of afford whatever it is she's trying to do, whether it's the modeling or whatever. I don't know. Her deal breaker is someone who's close-minded. That makes sense. You don't want someone who's very rigid in their ways and is not willing to budge, because then how are they going to learn to compromise with you? Next up, we have Kate. She's 27. She's a legal assistant. And she says she can't deal with kids. So she doesn't want someone who has kids because she's still a kid herself. You have Ty also sound that out and say, he's a kid as well. I think Ty is too nice. And I think he was trying to make the woman feel comfortable. So some of the comments he made would have rubbed somebody else the wrong way. But I think the girls saw potential in him. That's why they didn't all pop their balloons. Next up, we have Amelia. She's 31. She's a hairstylist. She says her deal breaker is someone who's still in his party era, because she feels at this stage someone should have goals and know what they want to do. He sort of says he's going to Coachella and is worried whether she's going to see that as him being in his party era. And she said, no, as long as it's something that's planned, that's fine. But you can't be having an activity every single week. That doesn't make sense, which I get. I get where she's coming from, because she's 31 years old. She's at an age whereby she's looking to settle down. She's not looking for a play buddy. Next up, we have Caitlyn. Caitlyn is 28. Caitlyn is stunning, in my opinion. I think she's stunning. She's got a very sweet smile. She's 28. She's a youth enrichment franchise owner. She's asked to elaborate, and she says, it's an after school. She provides after school classes for elementary students, and she also provides summer day camps. And her deal breaker is someone who can't communicate with kids, which makes sense since her job is dealing with kids. So if you can't communicate with kids, then chances of the two of you working are highly unlikely, because that is who she is, that is what she lives and breathes. I like her. She's very cute. I don't know why. Next, we have Natalie. Natalie is 29. She's a senior marketing analyst. I love the fact that she struggled to sort of say it out loud. And then she said, I've really worked hard to get it. So I'm very proud of that. And she says her deal breaker is someone without a passion. I guess so. It makes sense. If you are someone with a lot of goals and someone who has a lot of passions, someone who has a lot of things that they aspire to be, you can't be with someone who's not there, because they are going to constantly be hypercritical of what you're doing, and yet you're going to still feel stifled and be unable to grow. We have Angela. Angela is 25. She's a dental student. We know her from last week. She is the one all the guys pop their balloons for. She says she wants someone with the set plan for life, someone who has goals, someone who has ambitions. It's more or less the same thing that, the previous girl, Natalie, said, but it's just packaged differently. She's 25 years old. I think 31 and 25, there might be a bit of I don't know, unless she's too mature for her age. I think she still has a bit of growing to be going out with a guy who's 31, but then some boys at 31 are not yet mature enough. Anyway, and then we have Erin. Erin is a medium and spiritual healer. She doesn't want players, and she doesn't want liars as well. And it's like, okay, I hope she finds what she's looking for, but I don't know whether she will align with someone like Ty. I think her person is coming, but I don't think her person is Ty. She didn't pop her balloon as well, which I love for her. I wrote for love, so whoever he wins, that's it. Next up is Lexi. Lexi is 30. Her deal breaker, she didn't tell us what she does for a living though, but she told us her deal breaker is someone who takes themselves too seriously. And I think everybody wants someone who's flexible. I think people are tired of dealing with people that are very rigid and want flexibility in a relationship, want someone who's willing to compromise and grow. So I think this is why everybody is always looking for someone who's open-minded. Anyway, so he is then asked to pop 3 balloons. And personally, I don't understand why he popped the balloons that he did, but that's his choice. He popped Erin. Erin, I understand, because of the spirituality thing. He said it scares him. And if it's something that you don't believe in, if you don't believe in spirit mediums and spiritualists, that makes sense. Lexi, he said, wasn't his type. That makes sense. But Caitlyn, I didn't get it. He says he doesn't want a mean girl. And she is the embodiment of what a mean girl is not. And so I don't understand why he didn't pick her. My heart was a little broken for her, but I think she'll find her person. So those 3 are out, and then the girls are asked to ask their own questions. First up is Quincy. She asks, what's your karaoke song choice? He says Dilemma, Nelly, and Kelly Rowland. And she says mine. Well, she mentioned one by Bruno Mars, but I couldn't sort of hear what she said. But then she said, Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown, No Air. I love that song. And then she popped her balloon. She was the second person to pop her balloon because she said he's not her type. And he was taken aback because I don't think he expected her to pop, because he actually asked her, so you waited this long for you to pop. But anyway, it is what it is. And it's like, he sounds a bit bitter. Next up is Caitlyn. Caitlyn is asks, have you ever overstayed a relationship? And he says, if I don't linger, I tend to move on. If I feel there's nothing there, then I tend to move on, and I don't sort of linger around for no apparent reasons. He asked the question, if I promise to finance a trip, are you happy to plan a trip? And she says she can't plan, but she's happy to suggest places to eat. And he sort of mulls over it, but doesn't pop her balloon. Next up is Amelia. Amelia says she's very close to her family. They stay up late singing and talking. And so she asks him, what's your family dynamics? And are there any traditions? He says, he's very close to his family. They do meet up for holidays, but there are no traditions in his family that he can remember. But his goal or his plan is for him to start traditions once he gets married or once he has a family of his own. She popped her balloon and she said, because he said he's got a cat, because he answered and said he's got a cat. And she said she's got a deaf dog, which she can't leave behind. So she doesn't know whether her dog will be able to sort of, be around his cat, so that's the reason why she popped. Next up is Natalie, and Natalie says, she lost 100 pounds as part of her self-care journey, and she wants to know what is the last nice thing he did for himself. And he says, well, I go to the gym every day, so that's something, or I try to go every day, so that's something nice that I do for myself. But then he recently went for a spa, and so that's why, he loves that for himself, and so he felt that's the nice thing he did for himself. About the planning thing, she said she's not a planner. She can't plan anything. So she wants her guy to plan things for her instead of the other way around. He popped her balloon because he said, I want someone who's a planner because I'm not a planner. And it was like, oh, okay. Next up was Angela. Angela, said, on Fridays, I tend to spend Fridays distressing. So what are your Friday nights like? And he said his Friday nights are dinner with his friends or at home with his cat. This is why, you had one of the girls. Well, this is why Emilia popped, because she heard about the cat. And so he says, that's fine. And then the question about the planning, she says she doesn't like to plan. If her man is paying, then she would rather he plan because she will just come along and enjoy herself. So he said, okay, it is what it is. And so then it was interesting because he was then asked to pop a balloon because there were only 3 girls left, and he chose to pop Natalie's balloon. It didn't make sense to me. It really didn't make sense to me. I have a feeling production told him that he couldn't pop Angela. Angela was to pop as and when she wanted to. He couldn't pop her because at the end of the day, her being there doesn't make sense if he's saying the other girls are not his type and he's popping Natalie and saying Natalie is not his type as well. Make that make sense. So they then move forward with Kate and Angela, and he asks, are you an outdoorsy person or are you an inner city person? I like both. He likes being out and he likes being indoors. So Katie says, she's a city girl, and her question to him is, are you a risk taker? And he says he likes doing what I want to do and taking risk where it matters. And so she then popped her balloon last because she was the only balloon left because he had popped Angela. And she says, something about him scares her. The fact that, he's not a chaser. He wants the girl to sort of chase him. So she was a bit put off by that. I think the fact that he dated someone who was 9 years his junior is the reason why she popped. But she didn't want to be an ageist. And I think this is why she did that. Angela said she's an in-the-middle girl, so she likes both. She likes being outdoorsy and she also likes being indoorsy, but if she's going camping, she wants to go glamping. And this was like, oh my God. And so her question to him, I think, is the same question that she asked last week, which is, what have you learned in your previous relationship to work on in your next relationship? And he says, he wants to avoid a big age gap because there was a big age gap with his last partner. So everybody's sort of taken aback, and he's asked, and he says there was a 9-year gap. So people want to know, was the woman 9 years older than him or 9 years younger than him? He reveals that she was 9 years younger than him, which means she was about 21, 22. And so it makes sense because he says, they didn't like the same things, and it's like, well, she's 21, she's still getting to know herself. What did you expect? There was always going to be problems. He popped Angela's balloon because he said she's not his type. And it's like, so if she's not your type, why did you keep her till the very end? Were you waiting for someone to walk up to the very end with, or did you actually have feelings for her? One thing about Netflix is they're going to keep employing their people. So if you're on one of their shows, they're going to move you on to the next one. And I'm happy to see this guy because I really liked him on his show. So it's Will. He's 31. He's from Las Vegas, and he was on the Mole cool. I remember he won his season of the mall. I really liked him. Anyway, he says he works in nightlife. He's been single for a year and wants a best friend who he wants to spend a lot of time with. And his deal breakers are smokers. And so that was really cute. I loved that. I really loved that. Anyway, you have 3 girls immediately pop their balloon. I don't think people knew who he was. I think people just heard the word nightlife and they tuned out. He was actually a great guy on the mall, so I don't know why they popped. You had Quincy. She says she doesn't want someone in nightlife, and she's entitled to her opinion, wrong or right. Caitlyn also popped her balloon. She said she doesn't want someone in nightlife. Hey, it is what it is. You can't force yourself. She deals with kids, so it makes sense. She wants someone who's more stable. The people who assume people that are in nightlife are not stable. There's no consistency there. Angela, she popped her balloon. She says she doesn't want someone in nightlife. So the first question from Will is, do you see yourself wanting a family and building one soon? You have Kate. Kate says she wants kids, but not at the moment. No, she's not yet ready for kids. She asks, what's your biggest regret in life? And Will says, he always wanted to play professional baseball, but he wasn't able to do that. And because he wasn't able to do that, that's his biggest regret. She ended up popping her balloon when she found out he was a host, because she says there's no long-term plan. Amelia, she says she wants kids, but down the line, she wants to spend time traveling and enjoying her partner. And I think people forget at times that we have a biological clock as women. Yes, I get what she's saying, that she wants to spend time with her partner, but at least she should have told him, I need a year or 2 to do this, and then after that, we're ready cooking with gas. But anyway, and she asked, what do you do? He said, I'm a host. She initially thought he was a promoter. He said, no, I'm a host. Because she's a hairdresser, she said she's normally busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So she wants to know what his Sundays are like. The fact that, he lives in Las Vegas didn't help situations because she lives in LA. And so he said he's off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But she popped her balloon because she said, I live in a different area, and I think our priorities are different at the moment. Natalie says, she wants to build generational wealth. So she's not ready for kids at the moment, but maybe further down the line. And he popped her balloon, and it's like, poor Natalie can never win. He popped her balloon. He said it comes across as though you have no idea of where you are at the moment, or you don't have a set plan. That's the impression that he got from speaking to Natalie. I loved Natalie. I really did. I'm sad the guys kept popping her balloon. Next up is Erin. Erin is 33. She says she's looking to start a family and she wants to be a mom one day, but she didn't tell us what day. He popped Erin's balloon. He said he had no idea. He just panicked and he popped a balloon. And it's like, the thing that's scaring the guys the most about Erin is the fact that she's a spiritualist and she's a medium. If not for those 2 things, I don't think anyone would have popped her balloon. And then you had Lexi. Lexi is in the service industry. She's finally told us what she does for a living. She says she's very busy at the moment, so she hasn't yet considered whether or not she wants to have a family. But maybe further down the line, she might be open to that idea. And it's like, this thing of children is a problem. This happens on Marriage at First Sight, Love is Blind, wherever, whereby people will themselves into wanting children. If you want children, you want children. If you don't, you don't. That's it. She says she's very passionate about her career. She's a manager and she's a VIP host. So she sort of understands where Will is coming from. And she asks him, do you think you're happy in your career path? And Will says he has no regrets. I think his only regret is he didn't get to play professional football or baseball, sorry. But at the end of the day, he is happy with where he is in his life, which I love for him. So Lexi then was asked by Will, are you opposed to moving? And she says she's recently moved to San Diego about 3 years ago. So she's open to moving and she's happy as long as she stays on the West Coast. I think they made a cute couple. I think their only issue is the fact that does she want children and does he want children? Or is he open to negotiating and sort of waiting until she's good and ready? I was pleasantly surprised that Lexi chose to lock it in, but I think there was a spark between the two of them. You could say even the way they were standing that, Will was leaning towards her. So I'm not surprised that Will agreed to give it a go. I think he didn't want to disappoint her and sort of pop her balloon when she had said she wants to lock it in. I think had they asked him if he wanted to lock it in first, it might have been a different situation altogether. So I'm happy for them because at the end of the day, I root for love. That's it. And you then have Chin sort of have a conversation with Ty and is asking Ty, "Do you regret popping Angela's balloon?" And it's like, who does Angela know on this show? Is she a family member to one of the producers or what? Make it make sense. Why are we still pimping her out? She's come. She's been on the show twice. It's failed. Let her keep it stepping. She will find her person elsewhere. So we have our third guy come out, and I was pleasantly surprised because it was almost the very end. I think they knew he wasn't going to be up there for a long time, so that's why they kept him there. And it's like, okay, it is what it is. I didn't get the girls though. I really didn't get them. I don't understand why they popped their balloons because I thought he actually made sense. So his name is Greg. He's 30. He's from Chicago. He grew up in the suburbs, and he says he works in feature film development. So he works with a lot of writers. He's been single for 2 years, and I think that if anyone is looking for clout would have been enough for me to keep my balloon inflated for him. But hey, that's just me. And he says he's looking for someone curious, someone who has their crap in order. And his red flags are someone who's after princess treatment because that's not something that he believes in. He believes everybody deserves respect, and he believes everybody should put effort into a relationship. As soon as he spoke up about the princess treatment, you had people pop their balloons, and it's like, make it make sense. Really make it make sense. I personally don't think people understand the word princess treatment. I had this issue with people during Married at First Sight, UK, and I've seen this. Everyone wants princess treatment, but nobody knows what princess treatment is. I think they like the title, but they have no idea what it stands for. Anyway, Caitlyn popped her balloon. She says, you said you don't believe in princess treatment, and so that's why I popped my balloon. Natalie popped her balloon because she said, I don't know how I felt about, princess treatment because I like to feel appreciated. And he said, no, I do appreciate people, but it's just the fact that I don't believe someone should have the monopoly on a relationship. And it's like, people should have waited and asked him, what do you mean you don't believe in princess treatment? Nobody should have just popped their balloon just for the sake of it. They should have asked the questions, and this is when you lose out on a great guy because of first impressions. Okay, and his first question to the girls is, what is something a guy can do that is non-sexual to turn you on? Quincy says, when a guy is thoughtful and he listens to me and he listens to what I have to say, that's the most important turn on for me. And I think this is a theme with a lot of women. We just want to be listened to. That's it. Her question is, she's big into dress up, and she asks him, do you dress up? What is your favorite costume? And he said, his favorite costume that he wishes he has the guts to put on is Aegon from Lord of the Rings. I've never watched Lord of the Rings. I've never watched Harry Potter, so that's not my jam, so I don't know about that. Kate says, quality time. For her, it's important for her partner to spend quality time with her. That's a huge turn on for her. And it's like, hey, for you, love it. Next, her question is, what do you rate yourself and why? And he said, well, there's nobody who's a 10 because 10 is perfection and no one is perfect. So you have to believe in yourself, and he rated himself a 9. I wish he'd pulled his trousers just a little bit. They were way too high for me. I didn't like where the waist was, but that was a distraction for me. Maybe I was just being, petty. Emily said kindness and thoughtfulness. He popped her balloon because he said she seemed very worried about the princess treatment thingy, because she was one of the girls that actually kept her balloon inflated and asked him, what do you mean about princess treatment? And then it went from there. And then you had Angela pop her balloon because she said she wants to be put on a pedestal. And it's like, nah. What happens when he stops putting you on a pedestal? What happens then? Because when you have children, he can't continue to put you on a pedestal. Does that mean that the two of you are going to break up? I don't get it. Erin, she says, she's into soulful energy and conversation. That's her turn on. And she says she's spiritually gifted and she connects with people on a deeper level. And she wants to know whether he is able to connect on a deeper level, which he says yes. He says he loves to connect deep with people and he never keeps quiet. And his friends are always telling him he needs to keep quiet because he's continuously talking. So I love that for him. He popped, her balloon because he said her soulmate is still out there. So he hopes she finds her person. Katie then said, I'm a hopeless romantic. I think there's someone for every person. And she asked him, when was the last time you were intimate with someone? I thought that was a bit too personal. There was no need for that, especially given the fact that she wasn't going to answer it. I didn't like that. So he said, within the last month. And when Yvonne sort of asked that, you asked him such a personal question, you need to answer. She went, I work for lawyers, so I plead the fifth. And it's like, well, if you're pleading the fifth, why did you ask? Why didn't you wait until we left the show? The question was, how would you define equitable relationship? She says it takes two people to make a relationship work. So she locked in with him. I love this for her. Quincy said, I believe in soulmates, but she believes soulmates come in different forms. And she said she's not ready for marriage. She's ready for a relationship, but she's not ready for marriage. And she asked him, where are you now? And he said he's not ready for marriage at the moment as well. And he's not ready for kids, but he's happy to have kids with the right person that makes him want to be a father. He popped her balloon because he said he liked Kate's response because she spoke about Greek mythology, and it's like, make it make sense. I felt he had more in common with Quincy, so I'm pleasantly surprised that he chose Kate, whether that's his type of person or whatever. But hey, hopefully Quincy will find her own person. Maybe she can sort of hook up with Ty. That would be a better match for her. I loved this episode. I think people are becoming more comfortable and understanding the concept of the show. So it now makes sense and people are not just rushing to pop their balloons, which I love. I can't wait for the next episode. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 2. Bye guys.